Hey everybody, my name is Devin Koretsky. In this video I'm going to talk about some various different panels and inverters. It's very important to understand the various different products on the market for solar systems. So first I want to get into panels, right? So there's a slew of different types of panels. Any panel, any homeowner would consider would be a monocrystalline panel, but just for the purpose of education, I want to break down the different types of panels. So there's a thin film panel. That's the oldest panel. It's very, very thin. Would not be sufficient for powering a home. After that came the polycrystalline panel. Those are really popular in California, or they were. However, those aren't as efficient as monocrystalline. They do not last as long, and they can break. The solar cells are encased in glass, so any sort of hail or damage will break those panels, so they have to be replaced. So basically any sort of panel any homeowner would consider getting would be monocrystalline. Now there's top tier monocrystalline panels, and then there's lower tier monocrystalline panels. Either way, every monocrystalline panel is virtually indestructible. They're extremely, extremely well built. So they're actually going to protect your roof from hail and the elements, right? So you don't have to worry about those things breaking. And of course, all these panels come with a 25-year warranty. So if anything goes wrong with them, they will be fixed by the manufacturer and your installer. So you don't need to worry about that. I want to talk about the three panels that I like to use, right? So if a customer wants a more affordable option, I suggest the Mission Solar panel. It looks great. It's a sleek black on black design. Mission Solar is a company based out of San Antonio. They're very popular and huge in the solar industry nationwide, possibly even worldwide. Their customer service is fantastic, and I've actually been to their manufacturing plant. So I love doing business with them. They have great warranties and great customer service. Now, if a customer wants a premium panel, which is what I suggest, just because I like to offer premium products. There's the LG panel and the Panasonic panel. So I love the Panasonic panel better than any other panel. Their degradation and their efficiency is the best out of any panel, right? I guess that's up for debate, but in my opinion, they are the best, right? So after 25 years, the panel is only going to degrade to about 92%, right? Now, maybe some of you are being like, Devin, what are you talking about degradation? So let me kind of fill you in on how that works. So a solar panel, the amount of efficiency, the amount of watts it produces degrades year after year after year. So your typical panel, like a Mission Solar panel or a Q-Cell panel, something like that, after 25 years, it will be functioning at 80% of its original production, right? So it degrades at about 0.7% year after year after year. If you move up to the more premium panels, they're more efficient, so they degrade at a slower level, right? So the Panasonic, after 25 years, it'll still be functioning at 92% of its original capacity, so it degrades at about 0.5%. So I hope this is making sense. Also, let's talk about the size of the panel in terms of wattage. The Panasonic is a 330 watt panel, so each panel is going to produce more kilowatt hours than a smaller panel. Let's say a 275 watt panel or a 300 watt panel. The Mission Solar panel, for example, is a 310 watt panel. So you'll need more 310 panels on your roof than you would Panasonic 330s, right? Because each panel produces more kilowatt hours of energy, right? Or more watts, right? So I hope all that makes sense. So also if you get the Panasonic panel, you don't need to take up as much space on your roof. Another popular panel is the LG panel. Some people swear by LGs. Their degradation factor after 25 years is about 89%. So as you can see, it's a very premium panel. It's much better than your typical, 80% Mission solar panel, right? People love LG. So the reason why I choose Panasonic over LG is that Panasonic is American made, so their customer service and getting replacements typically goes much smoother than with LG. And of course, all this is up for debate. I just really believe in those Panasonics, and I'll suggest those all day, right? So the customer service is better, it's easier to replace them, and the degradation is better, which means the production you get from them is better. So I either suggest Mission Solar as a cheaper option, and then Panasonic 330 as the premium option, right? Well, we also have LGs. I have 10 other panels my customers can choose from. So whatever you want, I can get. So that basically covers panels. All monocrystalline panels work great, right? Let's talk about inverters. So I want to educate you on the history of inverters so you could better understand how inverters work and which one to choose. So there's only two inverters that are really popular on the market that I would suggest. One is the N-phase microinverter, right? The IQ7 microinverter just came out a couple months ago. I'm putting that on all my homeowners' roofs. It's the best and it lasts the longest, right? And then there's the Solar Edge, which is a centralized inverter, which is great too. The N-phase microinverter, they all come with a 25-year warranty. If you want to extend the 10-year to a 25-year warranty on the Solar Edge centralized inverter, you have to pay $600 for that, but you know we can factor that into the loan and work that out when we meet. They both have their pros and their cons, which I'll go over in a second. But let's start at the beginning of inverters, right? So way back in the day, really not too long ago, but there was this string inverter. All solar systems had a string inverter. The problem with the string inverter is that every panel is connected together, just like a string of Christmas lights, right? What happens if you unplug one Christmas light at the end of the string? All the Christmas lights go out, right? Same thing with the string inverter. So if you had one panel that had some shade or a tree grew over it and it was only functioning at 50% of its capacity, every single panel on that string inverter would be functioning at 50%. Or let's say one panel went out completely. All the panels went out completely, would go out completely. So you can imagine all the issues that came up with string inverters, right? And why no one really uses those anymore. What came out next was the microinverters, right? The N-phase microinverters. Those solved the problem with the string inverter because there is a simple little inverter behind every panel. And I just want to take a step back, just for those of you who don't know, I want to explain what an inverter does. So an inverter converts DC or direct current electricity to AC electricity. We cannot use DC electricity in our homes, right? So you need to convert the DC electricity, which is created from the solar panels, right? That's how the technology is set up, and it converts it to AC electricity so we can use it to power our homes. Pretty simple, right? But back to what I was speaking about. Microinverters came out. Everyone loved microinverters, right? You have one inverter on each panel. So not only can you monitor each panel by a cool little N-phase app and see how it's producing, but if one panel goes out, that's the only panel that's going to be affected. It's not going to affect the other panels, right? So it was great technology, and the inverters, the microinverters that they use have just been getting better and better and better, and they just came out with the IQ7, which is amazing and lasts a really long time. So those are really cool. Now let's talk about Solar Edge and centralized inverters, right? So centralized inverters, instead of having an inverter on each panel, they're similar to the string inverter where they're all connected, but there's another component. There's an optimizer on them, right? So you have the centralized inverter. It's a big Solar Edge pack that goes on the side of your house next to your net meter, right? It looks really cool. And all the DC electricity from every panel flows into the centralized inverter, and it converts it to AC electricity, and then it goes into your home. So that happens on the side of the house in one big box instead of on each single panel with the microinverters, right? So that's really cool. You can also monitor each panel individually with the centralized inverter because they have something called an optimizer on each panel, so you can monitor each panel individually as well. Now there's pros and cons that go with each of those. So, you know, when we sit down and meet, we'll talk about what your goals are, and I'll make a suggestion for which one to use. But they're both great, and they both have great warranties. So I hope that kind of clears up the inverters and how they work and how everything applies to it. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video.